Stop trying to feel motivated. Right now, stop. It isn't coming. And some part of you already knows that because you've been waiting for it for weeks, maybe months. Maybe you can't remember the last time you woke up before the alarm, hungry to start the day, instead of dreading it. I want you to hear something as relief, not as another failure stacked on the pile. The reason you can't feel motivated isn't because you're weak. It's because motivation was never built for someone standing where you're standing right now. You've read the books, watched the 5 a.m. routines, the ice baths, the men screaming into cameras about grinding through pain. You tried. You really did. And it worked for 4 days, maybe 5. And then it collapsed. And the silence after that collapse was the loudest thing you'd ever heard. Because in that silence, you didn't just think you'd failed a challenge. You started to believe you were the failure. That something is fundamentally broken in you that isn't broken in everyone else, who seems to have a working engine under the hood, while yours just doesn't turn over anymore. Put that thought down, just for the next half hour, because I'm about to show you something that has nothing to do with motivation, nothing to do with hype, and nothing to do with willpower. It's called the Gyoji System, and it's built on the most overlooked figure in one of the most brutal sports on earth. A man who stands in the center of the ring, between two 300-pound titans about to collide, and who has never once, in the history of his profession, needed to feel inspired to do his job perfectly. He's not the wrestler, he's the referee. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why that one distinction is about to change everything. You'll learn why sumo wrestlers can lose 8 matches in a single tournament and still be crowned champions, and why that number is about to kill your all-or-nothing thinking permanently. You'll get the exact 4-pillar framework built for people with nothing left in the tank. Not the thriving, not the ones who just need a little push, the ones lying in the wreckage of their own expectations, wondering if getting up is even worth it. And I'll hand you the precise protocol for the mornings when the ceiling is the only honest thing in the room. When lifting your head off the pillow feels like negotiating with a hostage taker who's already won. This isn't a pep talk. This is a system. And systems don't care how you feel. So if grind culture broke you, if you're exhausted trying to feel your way into becoming a better person, stay with me. We're not going to fix your motivation. We're going to make it irrelevant. Let's start with the biggest lie you were ever sold. That motivation is supposed to come first. Think about how it actually works in your head. You wait to feel like exercising before you exercise. You wait to feel like writing before you write. You wait to feel ready before you start the business, end the relationship, apply for the job. And when the feeling doesn't show up, and it usually doesn't, you conclude that you're simply not the kind of person who does hard things. Here's the truth, and it's going to sting a little. Motivation is not a character trait. It's a chemical event. Specifically, it's a dopamine response tied to the anticipation of a reward, not the reward itself. Your brain releases dopamine before you get the thing, not after, which is why scrolling your phone feels compelling and folding laundry doesn't. Novelty, uncertainty, and quick payoff spike discipline. Discipline, routine, and long-term payoff barely register at all. You were never lazy. You were running a reward system built to chase berries and danger on the savannah, and you've been trying to use it to build a 6-figure business or heal a decade of trauma. Of course, it's failing you. It was never calibrated for this. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. Behavior doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows behavior. This is one of the most well-documented findings in clinical psychology, and it's called behavioral activation. Therapists use it to treat severe depression, not by waiting for the patient to feel better and then encouraging them to act, but by getting them to act in small, structured ways first. Because the feeling of capability, even joy, tends to arrive after the movement starts, not before. You don't think your way into a new feeling. You act your way into one. So when you sat there, night after night, waiting to feel like going to the gym, you were waiting for a signal that was never going to fire until after you moved. You had the entire equation backwards. It's not feel good, then act. It's act, then feel. You've seen this play out in the real world 100 times without ever naming it. Every January, gyms fill up with people riding a wave of New Year motivation. By February, most of them have vanished, and the regulars quietly get their machines back. Nobody in that crowd was lying about wanting to change. They were just running on a feeling, and feelings, by definition, are weather. They roll in, and they roll back out. The people who stayed weren't the ones who felt more inspired than everyone else in January. They were the ones who'd built something that didn't need the feeling to survive February. Now let's talk about why grind culture specifically fails people like you. Grind culture is built by and for a very specific kind of person. Someone with a full nervous system, a stable baseline, often financial padding, and, this is the part nobody says out loud, someone who's already winning enough to have the energy to grind harder. Grind culture is a strategy for optimization. It is not a strategy for resurrection. You cannot optimize a system that's already in survival mode. When you try anyway, and you will, because the content is everywhere and it's loud and it's confident, here's what actually happens in your body. You're already running elevated cortisol. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and long-term thinking, is already operating with reduced capacity because chronic stress physically starves it of the resources it needs. Then you ask that already depleted system to execute a plan built for someone with full resources. It fails. Not because you're weak, because you did the math wrong. You were trying to run a marathon on a fuel tank that was already reading empty, using a plan written for someone who just finished breakfast. And then, this is the cruelest part, you don't blame the plan, you blame yourself. You call yourself lazy, undisciplined, a failure, someone who can't do the basic things other people seem to manage effortlessly. You take a systems failure and convert it into a character indictment. And that indictment becomes the story you carry into every new attempt, which means every new attempt starts from a deeper hole than the last one. This is why you failed before. Not because discipline is impossible for you, because you were using the wrong operating system entirely, one built on a resource you don't currently have, chasing a feeling that only shows up after the work is already done.
So we're done chasing motivation. Instead, I'm going to teach you something older, colder, and infinitely more reliable. Something that doesn't ask how you feel before it goes to work. It's time to talk about the Gyoji. Sumo is one of the oldest organized sports on Earth, wrapped in Shinto ritual, going back over 1,000 years. Two wrestlers, sometimes over 400 pounds each, collide with a force that can end careers on impact. It looks primitive. It is anything but. Because standing in the center of that ring is called the dohyo, is a man most people never even notice. He's wearing robes that look pulled from a 12th century royal court. He's carrying a war fan. And his job is the only job in the entire arena that has nothing to do with strength. He's the Gyoji, the referee. Here's what almost nobody outside Japan knows. Tradition held that the Gyoji carried a short dagger at his side. Not for the wrestlers, for himself. It symbolized that if he ever made the wrong call, if he ever failed at the one job he had, which was to observe with total, unshakable neutrality, he was prepared to answer for that failure with his own life. I'm not telling you that so you romanticize it. I'm telling you because I want you to feel the weight of what neutrality actually costs. We treat just observe, don't judge like a soft spa day instruction. Breathe. Notice your thoughts. Let them pass like clouds. It sounds gentle. It is not gentle. It's one of the hardest disciplines a human being can practice. An entire tradition built a role around it that they considered worth dying for. Here's the reframe I need you to take all the way into your bones. You've spent your whole life believing you are the wrestler. Every craving, every wave of self-hatred, every flash of doubt, every intrusive thought telling you you're worthless, too far gone. You've been standing in the ring, taking every hit personally, convinced that if the bad wrestler is winning today, that means you have lost. You are not the wrestler. You are never the wrestler. You are the Gyoji. The thoughts and feelings grappling in your mind, the anxiety, the shame, the exhaustion, the flash of motivation, the crash right after it. Those are the two wrestlers. They collide. They always have. They always will. That's the nature of having a human nervous system. It generates contradictory impulses constantly. That's not a malfunction. That's the baseline operating condition of every person who has ever lived, including the ones who look like they have it all together. Your job was never to make sure the good wrestler always wins. That's not a job, that's a fantasy. And chasing it is what's been exhausting you. Your actual job, the only job that was ever yours to hold, is to stand in the center, observe the match without becoming it, and call it fairly, no matter which side currently has the momentum. Psychologists have a name for this skill: cognitive diffusion. The ability to observe a thought without fusing your identity to it. It's the difference between the sentence, "I am a failure," and the sentence, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." That gap, that tiny linguistic space, is the entire ring. It's the dohyo line. Everything the Gyoji system teaches you lives inside that gap. This is also where self-compassion research becomes relevant, and I want to be precise about what that word actually means, because it's been softened into something it was never meant to be. Self-compassion isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's treating yourself with the same steady neutrality the Gyoji shows both wrestlers. No favoritism toward the version of you that succeeded yesterday, no cruelty toward the version of you that collapsed today. Researchers who study this have consistently found that people who talk to themselves this way recover from failure faster than people who default to harsh self-criticism. Not because the standard got lower, but because the referee stopped taking sides. There's a phrase Gyoji used to end a match, shobu ari. It means, roughly, the match is decided. Not gentle, not tentative, final. When the Gyoji calls it, the match is over. Full stop, no further debate. I want you to borrow that phrase, because right now, somewhere in your head, there's a match that's been going on for way too long. An exhausting rally between I should and I can't. Between start today and start Monday. Between who you want to be and the voice telling you it's too late for that person to exist. That match doesn't need another round. It needs a Gyoji to step in, raise the fan, and call it. Shobu ari. Decision made. Debate over. Not because you feel resolved. You probably don't, not yet. But because the referee doesn't wait to feel like making the call. He just makes it. And the ring resets for whatever happens next. That's the origin of the system. Now let's build it. So here's the system. 4 pillars. Not 7, not 10. 4. Because someone running on empty doesn't need a 12-step manual. They need something they can hold onto with both hands while they're still shaking. Pillar 1. The dohyo line. The dohyo isn't just a ring. It's a raised platform of clay and sand with a hard boundary marked by straw bales sunk into the ground. Step outside that line, even with 1 foot, even by an inch, and the match is over. It doesn't matter how much stronger you were. It doesn't matter how close you came to winning. The line doesn't negotiate. Here's what this teaches you. You need a line like that in your own life. A non-negotiable minimum floor that has nothing to do with your ideal day and everything to do with the worst day you're likely to have. Most people set standards for their best case self. Wake at 5, meditate, journal, cold plunge, 90-minute workout, read 50 pages. That's not a floor. That's a ceiling wearing a floor's clothing. And the first time you're depressed, sick, heartbroken, or just human, you'll fall straight through it and land on the idea that you failed completely. Your dohyo line is different. It's embarrassingly small, on purpose. 1 glass of water before your phone touches your hand. Your feet on the floor before 9 a.m. 1 2-minute walk outside. That's it. That's the whole line. Here's the psychology behind why this tiny floor matters more than any ambitious ceiling. Your brain builds identity from repeated evidence, not from intention. Every time you cross that small, ridiculous, embarrassingly easy line, you're gathering proof. Proof that you are, factually, a person who follows through. Do that enough times, and something shifts that no amount of ambitious goal setting ever touched. Your self-concept updates. Not because you did something impressive, because you did something reliable. The Dohyo line was never about the size of the action. It's about never once stepping outside it, no matter how small it has to become to guarantee that. Pillar 2. Mushin execution. Mushin is a word from Zen swordsmanship. It translates roughly to no mind, a state where the swordsman acts without the interference of fear, ego, or hesitation. Centuries ago, a Zen teacher wrote to a master swordsman that the instant you stop to think about your next move, your opponent has already won. Because thought is slower than reflex, and hesitation is where death lives. You don't have a sword, but you have an opponent, and its name is the internal negotiation. That split-second conversation you have with yourself every time you're supposed to do the hard thing. Should I go now, or in 5 minutes? Should I start, or check my phone first, just for a second? That negotiation is not neutral. It's a battlefield. And right now, you're losing almost every round of it. Because negotiation always favors the path of least resistance. Mushin execution means removing the negotiation before it can even start. This is a documented technique called an implementation intention. Deciding, in advance, in a calm moment, exactly when and where and how you'll act. So specifically that there's no decision left to make in the moment of resistance. Not, I'll work out today. Instead, at 7 a.m. in my running shoes by my front door, I put my shoes on and open the door. No further vote required. The mind that hesitates is a mind still negotiating with the wrestler. The mind trained in Mushin has already made the call before the match even starts. It doesn't ask permission from your mood. It doesn't check in with how tired you feel. It executes the pre-made decision, the way a referee raises the fan the instant the rules say to raise it. Not a second before he's sure, not a second after he feels ready. The moment the criteria are met, the call is made. Stop negotiating with yourself in real time. Pre-decide everything in a moment when you're calm, and let Mushin execute it later when you're not. Before we go to Pillar 3, I need to say this. If something in the last few minutes just cracked something open in you, if some part of you just sat up a little straighter, don't let that feeling evaporate the second this video ends, the way every other insight you've ever had has evaporated by tomorrow morning. Leave your mark right now in the comments with one word: Gyoji. That's it. That's the whole ritual. Not for me, for you. Because 6 months from now, you're going to scroll back and find that comment, and you're going to see the exact moment you stopped being the wrestler and started becoming the referee of your own life. This is how the tribe finds each other, one word at a time. Take your seat at the table. We're not done yet. Pillar 3, the empty ring. Every sumo tournament happens on schedule. It doesn't matter if a wrestler is grieving a death in the family. It doesn't matter if he barely slept, if his body aches, if his mind is somewhere else entirely. The ring doesn't check in on his feelings before the match starts. He shows up or he forfeits. Those are the only two options that exist. This is the pillar that's going to save you on the days you think nothing can save you, the days the void shows up. And I promise, we're going to talk about the void directly in a few minutes, in detail, because I'm not going to pretend those days don't exist. They do. They're brutal. But right now, I need you to understand the principle underneath them. Discipline was never supposed to require enthusiasm. That's the myth we've been sold. That discipline and motivation are the same muscle. That if you don't feel fired up, you're not really being disciplined. You're just going through the motions. Good. Go through the motions. The motions are the entire practice. Showing up to an empty ring, standing there with nothing, no fire, no inspiration, no one cheering you on, doing the smallest version of the thing anyway, is not a lesser form of discipline. It's the purest form that exists, because it's the only version that isn't being propped up by a feeling that could vanish tomorrow. Here's the brutal truth.
Anyone can perform discipline when they feel good. That's not impressive, and it's definitely not what's going to carry you through the next 2 years of your life. What's going to carry you is showing up to the ring when it's empty, when no one's watching, when you feel absolutely nothing, and calling the match anyway. Process over mood, presence over performance, every single time. Pillar 4. Kachi-koshi. In a 15-day sumo tournament, a wrestler doesn't need to win every match to be considered a success. He needs 8 wins. Just 8 out of 15. Lose 7 times, nearly half the tournament, and still walk away with a winning record. Still advance in rank, still be respected as someone who had a good tournament. That number is called Kachi-koshi, and I want you to tattoo it somewhere in your mind because it's about to dismantle the single most destructive habit you have. That habit is called the abstinence violation effect, studied for decades in addiction recovery. Here's how it works. A person sets a rule. No drinking, no junk food, no skipped workouts. And the very first time they break that rule, something strange happens. Instead of thinking, I had one slip, back to the plan tomorrow, the brain concludes, I've already failed completely, so the rest of the bottle, the rest of the day, the rest of the week doesn't matter anymore. One crack becomes an avalanche, not because the crack was so damaging on its own, but because of the all-or-nothing story you told yourself about what the crack meant. You've been living your entire life needing a 15-0 record. Perfect attendance, 0 missed days. And the second you miss one, you don't think, that's one loss in a long tournament. You think, I've already lost the whole thing. And you quit for a week, sometimes a month, sometimes permanently. Kachi-koshi says something radically different. It says, you are allowed to lose. You're allowed to lose 7 times out of 15 and still be somebody who's winning. The tournament isn't one match, it's the entire body of matches added up over time. Missing a day is not a referendum on your character, it's just a loss. One loss in a long tournament you're still very much inside of.
Stop scoring yourself match by match. Start scoring yourself by the tournament, because the version of you that misses a day but shows back up tomorrow will beat the version of you that needs perfection every single time over a long enough timeline. 4 pillars, the line you never cross beneath, the execution that skips the negotiation, the empty ring you show up to anyway, and the tournament math that finally lets you breathe. But pillars alone don't move you forward. You need physics. You need momentum. So let's talk about how tiny actions compound into a completely different life, and why the size of your first step matters far less than you've ever been told. Isaac Newton gave us a law that has nothing to do with self-help and everything to do with your life right now. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion, unless acted on by an outside force. Your current state, stuck, frozen, scrolling, dreading, is not a character flaw. It's inertia. It's physics. And physics doesn't respond to shame. It responds to force. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes when they try to apply force to their own inertia. They apply way too much of it, all at once, to the wrong point in the system. Think about what it takes to start a car engine versus what it takes to keep it running once it's moving. The ignition draws a disproportionate amount of energy compared to cruising at highway speed. Starting anything, a habit, a workout, a hard conversation, a new identity, costs more energy than continuing it ever will. This is why your plan to work out for an hour every day keeps failing. You're trying to floor the ignition every single morning with a system that's already running on a dying battery. So here's the move. Make the ignition so small it costs almost nothing. Not a 60-minute workout, 1 push-up. Not a 1,000-word journal entry, 1 sentence. Not reading for an hour, opening the book and reading 1 paragraph. This isn't a beginner's version of the real goal. It is the real goal at first, because the goal was never actually the push-up or the sentence or the paragraph. The goal is proving to a nervous system that's learned to associate starting with failure and shame, that starting can also lead somewhere safe. There's a concept in chemistry called activation energy, the minimum energy required to get a reaction moving at all. Once a reaction crosses that threshold, it can sustain itself, sometimes even release more energy than it took to start. Your habits work exactly the same way. The push-up isn't the point. Crossing the activation threshold is the point, because once you're down on the floor doing one push-up, your body is already in motion, and a body in motion tends to do a second one. Not always, not every time, but far more often than a body that never got off the couch in the first place. This is also how habits physically rewire your brain. Deep in the basal ganglia, a structure involved in automating repeated behavior, your brain is constantly compressing sequences of action into a single, low-effort loop. A cue, a routine, a reward. The first time you do something, your prefrontal cortex, the effortful, expensive, conscious part of your brain, has to manage every step. But repetition hands the task off to a cheaper, faster system. This is why the 40th time you brush your teeth requires zero willpower, while the very first time you tried a new habit felt like climbing a mountain. You're not weak for finding day one hard. Day one is supposed to be the hardest day of the entire habit because it's the only day running entirely on the expensive system with no automation built yet to carry the load. This is why the size of your first step matters far less than people think, and the frequency of the first step matters far more. One push-up every day for 30 days will change your nervous system's relationship with exercise more than one incredible 90-minute session you only did once out of guilt and then abandoned. Consistency at a small scale beats intensity at an unsustainable one every single time, because the brain isn't impressed by intensity, it's convinced by repetition. So here's your instruction. Shrink the action until your resistance disappears. If you feel resistance to 10 push-ups, do 1. If you feel resistance to 1, put your hands on the floor and do nothing else. Find the size where the no in your head goes quiet and start there. Momentum was never about how big your first step was. It was always about how many times you were willing to take it. Now let's talk about the days none of this seems to touch. The days I promised we'd address directly.
You know the one I mean. You wake up, if you slept at all, and there's a weight sitting directly on your chest that has no name and no clear cause. The ceiling looks the same as yesterday, but today it feels like the only honest, unmoving thing in a world asking too much of you. Getting a foot out from under the blanket feels like negotiating with a hostage-taker who's already won. This is the void. And I'm not going to insult you by pretending one video and 4 Japanese-inspired pillars are going to erase it. If what you're carrying has a clinical name, if this isn't just burnout but something heavier, something that's been sitting on you for months with no light getting through, please, hear this as care, not a footnote. Get professional support alongside everything I'm telling you. Therapy, a doctor, a psychiatrist, whatever that looks like for you. There is no dishonor in that. The Gyoji doesn't referee alone forever either. Sumo has entire councils, entire hierarchies of trained officials who support each other. Needing support was never the opposite of discipline. It's part of the system. But for the void that shows up on an ordinary Tuesday, the exhaustion, the flatness, the days you feel nothing and want to feel nothing because feeling anything at all sounds unbearable, here is exactly what to do, in order. Follow this like a checklist, not an inspiration. First, do not negotiate with your mind about your body. Your mind, in the void, is a hostile witness. It will tell you there's no point, that this feeling proves something true about your worth, that staying still is safer. Do not argue with it. You cannot out-debate a mind operating in survival mode. You'll lose every time because it has home field advantage. Instead, skip the mind entirely and go straight to the body. Second, move one part of your body on purpose in the next 10 seconds. Not your whole body, one part. Wiggle your toes, turn your head, press your palm flat against the mattress. This sounds absurdly small, and that's exactly the point. You're not trying to solve the void with this motion. You're trying to prove at a cellular level that motion is still possible. Because the void's most convincing lie is that you're frozen permanently. And one small movement is direct, physical evidence against that lie. Third,
Get light into your eyes, ideally natural light, within the first 30 minutes you're capable of moving. This one has real biology behind it. Morning light exposure regulates your circadian rhythm and helps set the timing of cortisol and melatonin release for the rest of the day. Depression and severe burnout frequently come with a circadian system completely out of sync, which is part of why mornings feel like wading through concrete. You're not weak for struggling in the morning specifically. Your internal clock may genuinely be running on the wrong time zone, and light is one of the few free, immediate tools you have to start resetting it. Fourth, do the opposite of the urge. This comes from a clinical technique called opposite action, used in dialectical behavior therapy for exactly this kind of emotional flooding. The void tells you to isolate, so you send one text, even just an emoji, to one person. The void tells you to stay in the dark, so you open one curtain. The void tells you silence is safer, so you play one song, even quietly. You're not trying to feel better immediately. You're refusing to let the void dictate the behavior, even while it's still loudly dictating the feeling. Feelings and actions are not the same thing, and on the worst days, that gap is the only freedom you have left. Use it. And finally, remember the Gyoji himself doesn't stop being a good referee because a match is ugly, slow, or unimpressive. He doesn't need the wrestlers to perform beautifully for him to do his job with total integrity. On your worst day, your only job is to referee, to notice the void without becoming it, to make the smallest fair call available to you, and to let that be enough. Because on the days everything else is impossible, enough is not a consolation prize. It's the entire victory. So let's talk about what happens after the void loosens its grip, even slightly. After you've been standing in the ring for a while, calling matches fairly, showing up to the small line every day, executing without negotiating, surviving the empty days without abandoning the practice. At some point, and it won't announce itself, there's no fireworks, no montage moment, you'll notice something has changed. You'll do the small thing, the 2-minute version, the one push-up. And for the first time in longer than you can remember, it won't feel like survival. It'll feel like choice.
That's the rebirth. Not a dramatic transformation where you wake up a different person. A quiet handoff where the actions that used to be pure endurance start becoming identity. Here's what almost nobody tells you about this stage, and it matters. The Gyoji never retires from being the Gyoji just because a match goes smoothly. He doesn't graduate out of needing to observe, out of needing neutrality, the moment the wrestlers start performing well. If anything, that's exactly when sloppy referees get lazy. Right when things are going fine. Right when it would be easy to stop paying attention because nothing seems to be going wrong. This is where most people who survive their void, who make it through the worst months of their life, actually lose the progress they fought so hard for. They confuse "things are better now" with "I don't need the system anymore." They drop the Dokyo line, the second life feels stable, thinking stability was the finish line, instead of the very thing the system built. Then, 6 months later, they're back in the wreckage, wondering how they slid so far, so fast, without noticing. Discipline was never a 30-day challenge with a finish line. It was never something you do until you feel fixed, and then set down like a cast coming off a healed bone. It's not a treatment, it's a practice. You don't stop being the referee of your own mind because the match got easier. You stay in the ring because the wrestlers, the doubt, the old patterns, the void that might visit again someday, never fully retire either. They just get quieter for a while, and quiet is not the same as gone. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on mindset showed something remarkably simple that changes everything once you absorb it. People who see their abilities as things that can grow through effort recover from setbacks faster and go further than people who believe ability is fixed. The rebirth isn't about becoming someone who never struggles again. It's about becoming someone who no longer interprets struggle as proof they were never capable in the first place. The wrestler losing a round doesn't mean the referee failed. It just means the round is still being fought, and the fight itself was never the emergency. Fusing your identity to the outcome of any single round was. You are not broken. You were never broken. You were a referee who forgot he wasn't a wrestler, standing in a ring, taking hits meant for someone else, blaming yourself for a fight that was never yours to lose in the first place. Pick the fan back up. Take your place in the center. The match is still going. And for the first time in a long time, you know exactly what your job is. If something in the last 30-some minutes rewired even one wire in your head, if you finally understand why you were never lazy, just misinformed about your own operating system, then don't let this be another video you nod along to and forget by tomorrow. Lock your place here. Comment the one word that describes which pillar hit hardest. The line, mushin, the empty ring, or Kachi-koshi. And let that word be the first piece of proof in your new file. Not proof for me. Proof for the version of you that's going to need to look back at this exact moment on some future empty ring day and remember they already decided who they were. This is how the tribe grows. Not through hype, not through motivation, through people who quietly decided to become their own referee. One small, embarrassingly tiny action at a time, and who marked the moment they made that decision. You don't need to feel ready. You were never going to feel ready. We covered that, remember? Motivation isn't coming, and it was never the point. The dohyo is right there. The line is small enough to cross today. Cross it. Shobu Ari. The match is decided. Now go take your place in the ring.